Hello, my name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Soulivity Live. We have such a great show for you today. We are continuing our conversation with Ilona Selke. She's an international best-selling author, seminar leader, lecturer, musician, as well as the CEO and co-founder of Living from Vision. For over 30 years, she has inspired thousands of people worldwide to discover the power of their consciousness and how to create a successful life. Her new book, Dream Big, The Universe is Listening, offers real-life stories of transformation as well as practical tips anyone can use to shapeshift their lives from the inside out. Now, in our last show with her, we talked about some of the basic concepts to creating a better life. But today, we dive into something that is very important to all of us: sex. Yes, we're going there, everyone. But specifically, we're going to talk about sex, soulmates, long-lasting love, and a whole lot more. So buckle up. Like I told you, this is going to be a great show. So with that, let's welcome Ilona back to the show.
Hi, can you see me? Yes,
I
it
see
worked.
you.
Miracles
Oh,
of
yeah.
technical.
Hi, Ilona.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
Hi, Brian. I'm good. I'm talking to you from Bali, and it's in the middle of the night here, so we're united despite all the distance.
Oh, so like night and day, yin and
Night,
yang.
yay, we'll
Listen,
fit.
everyone, just a couple things before we get started. We love questions, and we want your questions during the show. I mean, this is a great subject. You can join us live via your PC by clicking on the link that we posted to the live stream, or just post a question. And we're going to get to as many of them as we can over the next hour, okay? Ilona, I want to start by reading you a little something out of your fantastic book. See, I have it right here.
Oh my God, you are amazing.
It's the last stanza of a poem that you posted in one of the chapters, and it goes, "Today is heaped at your feet. It has found its end in you, the love of all man's days, both past and forever. Universal joy, universal sorrow, universal life. The memories of all loves merging with this one love of ours, and the songs of every poet past and forever." My question is, do you believe in soulmates? Are they really real? Are they real?
Yes, absolutely real. Now, the surprise may be that we have more than one soulmate. And that's where the trouble starts. So
right.
When I have people come to seminars, we practice different states of awareness. And as you and your program know and are about, we are, first of all, gathering momentum to get people to connect to soul and to higher states of awareness outside of the dogma and outside of religion, which you so nicely put earlier when we talked, and to give people a chance to really realize that they don't have to go to believe a certain book or a storyline in order to believe in something that I think all of us know. We are endowed with something greater than just a beating heart and a brain that functions.
Right.
There's something, you know, when people see each other and they look deeply into each other's eyes, there's a recognition. And that triggers some memory in us. It's like some forgotten part of us goes, I know that person, and we get chills. You know, I get just chills talking about that. So
it feels like it's almost like it's always there, it's always been there, but we but our own life and our own, where we are, kind of covered it over. And now we're kind of like,
yeah, and you know, we don't have a
dusting it back.
society, we don't have universities that talk about soul. As a matter of fact, we're getting into secularized teachings which teach science. And in science, there is no way to measure soul. Soul awareness, intensity of soul focus, maturity of soul, none of that has space in our regular teachings. So I feel so grateful and indebted to you to be a platform of teaching, of sharing, of inspiration where we can dive into experiences and research. And I've done my share of work. I've been meditating since I was 17, so that's 40 years now. 40 years later. That puts me at almost 60. Ouch. Okay, all right.
You're not even
And
middle-aged yet. What are you talking about?
yeah, that's right. The 65 is middle age these days, right? And then my husband and I, whom I met when I was 21, have been practicing soul awareness with each other. And that is what I wrote about in my book as well, is we can all train that. We can all start wherever we are. We can engage our heart and soul, which isn't the same thing. Our heart is the vehicle through which our soul expresses itself.
Right. It's almost like the mouth of the soul, right? Like this mechanism.
Doorway. Yeah. So we can all develop the strength of soul awareness. Now, you can probably know this. There are some mature souls on this planet and some not so mature souls on the planet. So what I can recommend is that you find someone who's at your level of maturity, because otherwise, it gets top heavy or bottom heavy, and we want to be able to see eye to eye on all levels, which we will get into, and we'll talk about how to do that.
What I love about this part of the book is it took your own personal journey and showed how your awarenesses about your sexual being connected with everything else. And it was almost like this journey, like you went to here and the next thing and the next thing. What's your thoughts about sex and intimate relationships, like those close, very close relationships?
What's my thought on it? Well, I think, in this day and age, in our Western society, let's just say, in which is most of us are going to be listening from the Western world, it's a confusing subject. The more we see media, the more we get this picture that, you have to look a certain way to be having even sex appeal. Women torture themselves. Men think they have to live up to some kind of ideal image. And then, there is this portrayal by Hollywood of some kind of sex. I mean, even the 50 Shades of, what was it? Black, gray, white, whatever shit. Seriously, I mean, does it matter? It's like the book club, the middle-aged women. I mean, it's like all about contorting ourselves to create what? What do we crave the most, really? I think what is the driving force, which I love about the universe, the driving force of the universe is to unify, to connect, to unify, and to merge, because out of that we create offsprings, fruits, more butterflies, right? It's a good drive. But deeper than the drive to connect sexually and to unify physically is our drive to connect at the heart and then at the soul level. See, and when we connect all the levels within us, that's when it clicks and we say, thank you. I made love. I didn't just have sex and a quickie or an orgasm. I mean, I don't mind those either. But what we crave, what we really desire, and which is why masturbation actually doesn't really hit the spot, is
right.
And sex with robots doesn't do it either.
Right.
What really satisfies us is when we merge our deepest parts and feel met. And that can happen even with clothes on. I write a chapter about sex out of body, right? And we'll get into that later, right?
Of course. We've got some good stuff to talk about.
All right, okay. So the biggest issue I think in the world today, and I would say that's worldwide, is that men and women have different needs. Women want more emotional content, and open the heart of a woman and her sex opens, and a guy is open his sex and his heart may open, may not. And the two need to find common ground. So we need to evolve. Our species needs to evolve, and that's what we're doing. And shows like this inspire us, and we will talk about techniques of how to evolve this little monkey body into the next body of evolution that can tolerate more intimacy.
I'm glad that you said that your perspective is evolution, right? Because where we are today actually is learned, right? We've learned to think about sex in a very only physical way where there's not this really connection, and that's not even connected to the other parts of ourselves,
Right.
our spiritual selves, our souls,
Right.
what we want to manifest, our happiness, our happiness, all that. It's like all that's over here, and then sex, right?
It's like sex is done maybe in the dark, and then there's church maybe, or there is whatever,
Right.
entertainment. Yeah.
You write, again, I'm going back to this beautiful book. You talk about, but before we can be happy in a relationship, we have to stand on our own 2 feet, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Only that way will 2 equally empowered beings be able to create a greater whole. I love that statement.
So true.
Because it goes into, again, this part of the beer where there's this connection. There's this connection going on both individually and then with your partner, with your love partner. That's between love, sex,
Absolutely
personal
true.
responsibility, manifestation, all that. Will you talk a little bit about that? I mean, we were talking about this before the show. I want to expand on that a little bit.
Yes. And earlier when you said, are there soul relationships, soul mates? Yes. And I mentioned there isn't only one, because in our souls, when we truly have developed some soul awareness, we can meet and actually merge those 2 diamonds of consciousness. However, when someone is like this brilliant and somebody is tepid in it, imagine those 2 meeting, or not even tepid, like not even there. It's like, hello. I had people write me, and one of the letters that I still smile about was, I met my soulmate, but he just doesn't know it. And I'm like going, dear, I mean, if he isn't awake enough to notice, no matter how much you hit him over the head with, I'm your soulmate, it's not going to happen, because the 2 capacities, it's like a child and an adult cannot have the same conversation.
Right.
So we do have to do ourselves the honor and honor ourselves enough to stick within the realms of a partner, of someone who can meet us. And there is no shame in saying, look, this is where I'm at. I mean, I am only where I'm at, but let me find someone who can meet me. Like, there are people who are bigger and greater than I am, but if I meet them, I'm just going to bore them to pieces if I marry them.
Right.
So let's meet where we give each other food for growth, evolution together, where we spark each other. And then whatever level we choose to meet on, and that's heart to heart, mind to mind, body to body, and soul to soul, can evolve in an equally nurturing give and take. So that's why I say, be awake in yourself. So if you want to find a soulmate, wake up yourself to that level of a soulmate consciousness that you want to find in a partner, because it won't happen when you magically find an enlightened being. It's like so many women try to go to see a guru and have sex with him, and I don't think it rubs off.
Right.
It's like I mean, so
like if I just like stand next to the guru,
is it going to happen?
It's going to happen. I'm going to get wait. No, not yet.
No, it's your own homework that does it. Yep.
That this reminds me of a metaphor that my own parents use in their relationship practice, where they're teaching people how to relate to each other. And the myth has always been, and this has been in movies and dramas and film and theater and the whole 9, where you see this person from across the crowded room, and the magical words they both speak, "You complete me," right? Where they both have 2 glasses, they empty out 50% of each other, they pour it into a new glass, and now it's 100%, and they're a whole being. What you're talking about is you've got two whole beings.
Bring your whole glass and make more than two glasses because the synergy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
And the quality of
Yes, absolutely.
what's in your glass will attract the quality of what is in someone else, like matches
In
you.
the other, exactly. We look for resonance. But I just came from a conversation this evening at an event where the person had met a woman and is very attracted to her, where she doesn't reach his level, and bless their hearts. However, when it just causes a discrepancy in the one person who's never feeling good enough, and there is no more damaging experience than exposing yourself to someone who's so different that you always feel like you're never good enough. So do yourself the favor, find someone at your own level and then evolve together. But if you want to really delve into soul awareness, it will take some homework, some introspection, some silence, and that's when you become a complete being. You're not needing, you're not depending, you're not like grasping for help and not saying, well, this is my lack and what you can bring to me will fulfill me. A lot of people, and this is one sentence that I like as a magical sentence, and there have been times when I go like, well, if you could just do this, or could you just be this, or give me this, I've learned to turn it around and say, let me give what I'm hoping to get.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if I turn it around and instead of like going, listen to me more, or give me more, talk to me more, I give what I wish to get.
Yeah.
And imagine that I'm already receiving it. I'm at least building the field for my partner or someone to bring together with me something that then creates an updraft rather than a needing and clinging. And I love that. Your parents are such awesome role models. You bring them up in our conversations regularly, and I love them already. It's awesome.
Well, I've got some new role models with you and Don, so I'm like, my ears like. Before we move into the next piece of this conversation, because you're touching upon something that I think we need to just explore a little bit.
Yeah, let's deeper.
Something that we talked about offline. We have great conversations, everybody.
Yes.
And you're talking about like physical act, the physical part and the physical realm that we connect with people, and that only gets you so far. And that we may even create, to your point, we may even create relationships or connections with people and sustain them, even though we're supposed to move on, the reason, season, or lifetime kind of thing, where we're supposed to move on, but we hold on to this because of this physical connection that only gets us this tiny, tiny, tiny piece of what our soul's really yearning for.
Right.
And
that is where we need to be honest with ourselves. That's where we might have to take a hard look at ourselves and say, what am I giving, or where am I selling myself short? And if I am I willing to suffer for the rest of my life like that?
Big question.
And I think we do learn, and what's a little bit more suffering, sooner or later we'll get the picture. And I do believe, we go on and on. But if we are really responsible and we want to grow voluntarily and not with pain and suffering, we do need to listen to the nudges of our hearts and souls and not expose ourselves to the easy money, the being cared for, which a lot of women sell out to. Sorry to say so, but a lot of women don't feel strong enough in the marketplace. They will sacrifice, abuse, let themselves be taken advantage of just to have the male figure provide or give them whatever they think they couldn't get otherwise. And I'm not saying that men don't sacrifice themselves. I actually know,
because we're the ones who are also on the other side of the equation, right? We've got to be this great provider and look a certain way,
exactly,
and have the bravado and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I think men and women we all need to be honest with ourselves. And like I wrote in my book, I had my ideal man image in my mind. And when I met him, there was the rifleman from the show, The Rifleman, the guy, tall, stands. And then I was 17 and I come up to a youth hostel and I'm just about to check in and I see this guy standing there with his arms looking far over the river, and I see him and like my heart stopped and I'm like going, oh my God, there he is. And it took a day and he fell in love with me. And he immediately stayed in Europe and stayed with me until I finished school. And then we went to America, got married, and I went to study in the university with him. And then I realized all the spiritual books he bought me, I read, but he didn't want to sit and meditate. All the great books on Tantra and subtle energy awareness, chakra awareness, all these exercises I was willing to do, he just really didn't want to do it with me. And yeah, it's like, bless his heart, we are still awesome friends, really amazing friends. But I tortured him with my intensity and he tortured me with the lack of his. And it was a good step in the right direction. Right. I grew. I got my ideal image out of their mind. And then I fell in love with a man who just simply closed his eyes and sat in silence across from me. And I saw him in these inner realms. It's my current husband of 36 years. And I met him when I was 21. So that, yeah, fits. So
there's a great story. It's in the book. I'm telling you, everyone, you need to get this book and read it. But go ahead. That whole beautiful, the story is beautiful, how that unfolded.
Yeah. So to cut a short story, longer short, it was like what we do and what we still do to this day is we trained ourselves to connect at a soul level. Now, for most people, that's, a book with 7 seals. I remember when my mom asked me when I was 15 at the breakfast table, so girls, my sister and I, where do you think the seat of your soul is? Great conversation for breakfast, age 15. And I'm like going, seat of my soul. And my sister immediately, she said, in her heart. And my mom was really happy. And I'm like going, no. For me, it's somewhere out there. And, maybe that was just me, but for the people I know who turn their chakras on and move, the chakras is the energy system, like right. When your heart goes pitter putter, there is another part, or love, we feel it in our heart. When our tummy churns or we feel anxious or have butterflies in our tummy, that's the solar plexus, the power center. Right. Well, the frog in our throat, that's that energy center here. And then the visionary part, the seeing beyond the walls, that's in our third eye. Well, the crown chakra, which is described in the ancient cultures as the place where we connect to the divine, to me, the sensation was that I had something up there. So, yeah. And actually, when I sat with my husband, he was married, I was married, with different people, and I felt like we touched in that dimension. We touched. And we ascended. So now I'm teaching that, and I've been teaching that for the last 30 years to people in small and large groups. At some conferences we had 700 people sitting, doing these exercises together, and we all have an archetypal way of touching into soul awareness. Gotcha. Which is I would describe it as a focal diamond above our head, like I'm going to scoot down, and it's maybe say a foot above your head, the first, like where you like focalize your attention. Now, just knowing about it may help you, but it's like you just pull all of your focus in there and pretend that you can look out there or feel the world like stepping outside of time space. And when you enter that, you drop all your clothing in a way, your identity, your who you are, your profession, your identity, male, female, anything that is a form, and you become this diamond of consciousness. Right. Pure essence, pure consciousness. And then you can learn to identify that same purity of another person who's practicing with you, and you go ping, ping, and it's quality of meeting each other. And from there, I have people spiraling to the center of the universe. They all describe like they spiral in a DNA spiral around each other until, I've seen these videos of these two galaxies that go at the center of each galaxy is a black hole, and they go.
Wow.
Then you have the genesis of two souls creating a new birth of something beyond and greater than themselves. Now, this is union of the soul.
Yeah, I was going to say, because in the book you talk about the union is the drive to experience the state of oneness, which is experienced as a feeling of love, right?
Yes. Yes.
That is, and I challenge anyone out there, isn't that what we really want to feel with our partner?
And in even our sex life.
In our sex life. I mean,
I'm going to tell you outright, the best orgasm can be had, and you want to hear it? All right. If you manage, and this may take some training, and this, even myself knowing how to do it right, I, have to remind myself. But when we have ideally trained our awareness from the bottom of our trunk up through the energy centers, and we can breathe energy up and recirculate it and take the breath into our partner and circulate it. Just do that, Imagine you're traveling down your beloved spine, down, meet in the fulcrum point. Just do that for a while. But now in the sexual act, let's say, or at the orgasmic point, take your attention and pull that sensation up. Bring your attention up and imagine meeting your partner at that cosmic level of pretend of where you can get into this oneness state. Just create it. We all have archetypal understandings of it. It's innate in us. We all know it. We all have this. With your breath, you can guide it up and out, this orgasmic feeling, and meet your partner and imagine you're touching into soul, into their essence.
Wow.
Your orgasm will last longer, will be more powerful, more satisfying. And some people may not orgasm, whether or you do or not, sensation, I do this with people, men and women, where we go into that place and they say, I feel like I have made love. I feel like I've truly come home. Those are the things they say.
Is that, well, let me ask you this first question, because that gets to my next question I was going to ask you. This relates to an experience you had with your husband where you asked him a question. And that question was, what was the most memorable sexual experience that he had with you? Right?
Right.
This relates to that story. Can you tell people about that story a little bit?
Well, ultimately, the most memorable, and truly I've found this when I've done interviews with people, the most memorable sexual experience or meaningful experience that people have has to do with intensity of presence, has to do with merging, has to do with union of soul, has to do with even whether you're sexually uniting or just with the heart or just even with the soul. What matters to us is superseding, transcending our identity state that is separated, you, me, here, into a greater state, into a field of union. And I hope I'm answering the question in the right way. This is universally true. I've done interviews for an upcoming book I'm dreaming about. It's called Let's Talk About It. And what I've asked people is what has been your most memorable sex or sexual experience? And what most people point to is the extra quality of union. And honestly, it is our evolutionary step. We, before we were talking about, if you were to ask a quantum physicist what the magical point of quantum physics is the discovery that something like light can be a particle, like a photon, can be a thing, like a billiard ball.
Right.
But what they're discovering is when they look for it, it actually transcends that and starts behaving like a wave.
Right.
Yes. And the wave is not only here, and it's not only this and that particle that come together. They start behaving like they are here and there, and they're intermingling, interpenetrating.
Wow.
And waves can do that, which is our evolutionary step, in which is, I think, the big paradigm shift we're facing in the next couple hundred years. We, and I'm privy to that, are part of research data in medical fields and pollution transformation, where we're discovering that matter is not the ultimate and not the finite and not the original existence.
Right.
What supersedes it is energy, and beyond that, information, and beyond that, a field of unity, of the origin.
Right.
So if we can tap into any of those levels, if we can tap into the energy, which is just feeling our heart, just exercising a heart chakra.
Wow.
And just feeling the divine part, the angelic part in each other.
Yeah.
And, just even say what I love about you. And say a few kind words and open our hearts. Even men love to do it. Even men love to be seen for who they are, beyond the trying to perform. If you appreciate each other and then share from the heart, you don't even need to say many words. Even if you sat still and didn't say one word. Because for men, speaking is usually not the easy thing.
Yeah, we're not taught or validated in doing that.
Well, and actually, did you know that the brain between women and men differ in something very fundamental?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give all you men who are listening a good excuse that you can use anytime from now on. When the women say, well, why don't you talk a little bit more about your feelings? You ready?
Go for it.
All right. So in the brain studies, when they did studies on epileptic seizures, they discovered that if they cut the brain half stem, the corpus callosum that connects the two brain halves, the people didn't have those bad things travel from one side to the next brain's half. It wouldn't contaminate the other side.
Okay.
Well, and they could talk and they could do all sorts of things. But what they found out is that in that research, that this part where the speech center is located is the left side of the brain, where the part of the feeling is located is the right side of the brain. Now, in the male and the female brain, what's different is, and they did experiments where they put pictures into the speech center, let's say a spoon, and they put it into the right side of the brain. The person could pick out a spoon with their hand and show them what they've seen, but they couldn't say the word spoon.
Wow.
So verbally, they would know it, but they couldn't say it. Now, men who don't have as thick of a neural pathway, the corpus callosum is thinner. Their neural pathway is like a smaller highway for men than for women. Wow. Evolutionarily, it makes sense. You don't want to have a guy hunting, see a lion and scream, like women might, Women have to be agile in the verbal expression because they have to raise children, communicate.
Right. So that pathway's stronger.
Exactly. So when the pathway isn't that strong and a woman sits in front of a guy and goes, I have feelings, blah, 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 blah. What do you feel? And he goes, ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. Eventually, it'll get over to the speech center, The guy takes longer. He needs his cave time. Men will verbalize succinctly. Women will talk like a waterfall. So in that, we're different.
Right.
Let's honor it. Let's honor the difference. And women need to understand that and honor it, and men do too. Mm-hmm. So here's an easy way. You just did it. I love it. Here's a trick I was going to teach. Just what you just modeled. Do you know how men can fake it really well and women will just gobble it up and love it? So this is from the book, and I love it. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I think it was in that book. So anyways, here's how you do it is, guys, listen up. Or women, if you're listening, you can tell your guy, this is all you need to do. You need to learn 5 words. Okay, ready? I'll teach them to you.
Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
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 Oh. And then, if you master those, the women will love you. You don't even have to say anything. Women need to listen to themselves talk, and they become aware of their feelings and process information while they talk.
Right.
Men need silence. Men need to mull it over, and it needs to go from feeling to conceptual, and it takes
Right.
time.
Right.
Yeah?
That's
So,
it.
yeah, go for it.
I mean, because men are such, I mean, again, this is evolution, right? Men are grounded in practicum. Okay, how does the hows and the conception, the approach, and all these kind of constructs, right? And that women can see this world that kind of like is not kind of like, it's more like ever spatial, ever dimensional from a feeling standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And but men need to learn about that, and women need to learn about the other one, right? So
Yeah.
it's the practice.
And that's, I think, what we are doing. And the beauty of it is men don't need to go hunting, and women in this world, we can learn from each other. And I don't want to suggest that we should become absolutely similar, although maybe as an evolutionary step, we may not need the you go hunt and I take care of the babies thing anymore. Obviously, we're role exchanging, and a lot of
Mhm.
confusion is coming up from that. And a lot of the questions I get asked is like how to be a woman and the femininity. And I'm like saying, primarily, I mean, I have interviews where I have to give the answers as like, how do you, I mean, especially in India, women want to know, how do I live my femininity in this modern age? And I say, let's face one thing. We are soul foremost and above all. However your soul expresses itself, it may be more masculine, it may be more feminine. We are not just one thing. And for myself, I can say I have masculine traits, which makes me a woman who can go out in the world and meet the world out there and feel
Right.
comfortable.
Right.
It typically has to do with, a mother having more testosterone in the 6th week of her pregnancy.
Right.
So
Right.
certain things can make a woman a little bit more masculine. A guy, a boy can come out and be more feminine. So we have a whole blend of all types of males and females. All you need to find is someone who matches your needs and
Right.
meets you in your soul the way you are, and fits with you and sees you for who you are inside. And most likely, even your persona will then align itself to match.
This is what you're talking about in the book when you're talking about becoming soul aware, right? With
Mm,
the other person, where you get so connected with the essence of who you are that you're able to turn and look and see that in that other person, become more aware of that in the other person. Is
right.
that
It's trainable. It's absolutely trainable. And it is a presence that requires that we shift into multidimensional awareness, that we aren't just the body, bone, skin thing, but that we are energy as well, that we train our energy centers to be aware, that we, there's a nice book out that I read in the 80s. It taught people just to scan themselves, just to be aware. What do I feel? What is happening inside of myself? Just
yeah.
to step out of automatically reacting, just to be aware. Oh, I feel tingles in my soul, in my body, in my bones, in my this and my that. And then you take it into finer and finer vibrations within yourself until you reach core levels. And just like enlightenment, there isn't one final stage where you go, okay, this is it. I'm now in my soul. It's like ever refining capacities of focused presence where you bring increased light and with it increased capacity for compassion, for love, for tolerance.
Wow.
Because the brighter you see, you supersede time space, and you suddenly can understand both opposites. And
Oh.
You know, I
Okay.
wrote probably in my book, I remember the sentence, you can measure your mastery by the capacity in which you can hold opposites in your hands, so to speak. And you can allow completely opposite points of views and neither take a for or against stance, but you are standing beyond it. At that point, you've mastered these two polarities.
Mm, mm.
And that is true in relationship too, is when you can see yourself, your follies, and your strengths and weaknesses, as well as your partners, and you can tap into that part which unites the two of you. You can then shine light into both of you and not take position and fight, but rather work together from a unitary point of view and allow the other person who they are to be meeting you in oneness, but not become the same, not
Wow.
confluency.
Wow. Wow. You know, that takes me to something I'm going to read in the book. Told you I love this book.
You're awesome.
I love it.
Wow.
And you start this chapter by saying, let's fast forward our movie about 35 years down the road. By now, I'm 56 years old and Don is 62. Don and I have been married and together for 34 years, pretty much together 24 hours a day. We are truly in love and in a soul union relationship beyond my wildest hopes and dreams. To this day, we still kiss the ground the other walks on every day. How do we make love last?
Ah,
Okay,
that's a
so
beautiful question. All right, so easy. Well, you do have to do your homework on a daily basis, right? You have to go and be really honest with your own strengths and weaknesses and do your homework and not just go blame, 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 shame, 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 or scream or shout. I mean, yes, there can be conflict, but you do need to take time to listen. And so what Don and I had a little game going on when we used to, over time things get better. So when we had a lot more we have this little game that's going, whoever gets to the soul awareness and higher perspective fastest or soonest wins. Usually it's like, well, whoever dukes out the hardest and slams the door the hardest wins, but no, we made it a point. So here is the number one thing that I would recommend doing. How you make soul love last. First of all, become aware of where the center for your soul is. And that
mm,
may be in your heart, that maybe just go seek the center of the universe, wherever you perceive the highest within you. And then create like a starlight within you. And then
mm,
assume you can meet the other one. Now, this takes training, but even if you just assume it or sense it, sense the other one there, wherever that presence of your soul is, and meet them. And that's what I do every morning. I wake up and I'm grateful to God, and I'm grateful to that spark, and I feel it and I go into it. I make myself wake up and go into it. I awaken my body, mind, memory. It's like, who are we to begin with? We're not our beliefs. We're
mm.
not our body. Our body changes from baby looks to old age look.
Right, right.
But that which animates us, that
Mm-hmm.
which science has not been able to provide us in a test tube yet, that
Right.
part, people know it. A person who's died doesn't look the same. There's something that is gone. That
Gone.
part that is gone, when it's there, it animates us. It shines out of our eyes. And making love last is to realize that we're not in relationship primarily with that person with those traits, not even with the ego. We're in love with the essence.
Mm.
And if you reach
Oh.
out and touch that essence every single day, numerous times, but at least in the morning when you wake up, and you ask that essence, that union of your souls, to be your master, the one force that guides both of you, that's when you become a humble servant to a greater force than your own ego or the other person's ego. You
Wow.
don't surrender to another person, you surrender to the union of your souls, the
Wow.
soul of the two.
Wow. fall in love with the essence of the other person. The
Yes.
essence.
Yes.
Not
And
this.
I saw your dad and your mom in the picture before when you started the show. I think you had your mom and your dad on the show picture from another on the 30th of September on that show, right? Where they talk about relationship, and the way your dad looks at your mom and the way she looks out of her eyes, it's like he loves who she is. That's what I see from that picture. He's like there. He's dedicated to the spark. He isn't dedicated to the short skirt she's wearing. He isn't dedicated to whatever nice hairdryer. He like feels her, and I saw that in the picture. Did I get that right?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
they don't, and I've seen this with other couples where it's almost like when you see another couple together, you don't even have to know them. You don't have to have a connection, like a close physical connection where you know their names and all that.
But
you see the connection.
Yes.
And you know it runs deep, and that they're seeing each other. That I love the movie Pandora, where one of the customs that the indigenous species, when they were connecting, they would say, "I see you."
Yes. Yeah.
But they wouldn't have they would have their eyes closed. I see you. That's kind of like what I feel you're saying.
Yes. Yes.
And to do that over and over and over and over again.
And that's where we train that which awakens us as humans in our relationship. That's where the relationship becomes a spiritual path, because you practice seeing each other at the core levels, at the heightened states of what's possible as a human. And it requires that we open up our dendrites and train them, and certainly not drink ourselves to pieces. I'm, sorry to say, but I'm just going to put it out there. We run a retreat center, and we have one policy: is no alcohol, no mind-altering substances.
Right.
And I do make a concession and offer coffee, which, because we have, people get headaches if we don't. So the Europeans come and they need coffee. So that's, my husband, what he says, Ilona, no tea. Yeah, no tea, because it makes me so speedy. I miss the boat.
Oh.
I have to tell you one experience. I live in Bali, because we have a retreat center. We travel, we teach in India, we teach in Europe, so I'm all over the world. So here's a Bali woman talking to me, and she says, is a waitress, right? And they share their wisdom. And she said, you have to do things slowly. It's only when you do things slowly that you hear the whisper of God's voice. Wow. And it is true even in relationship and even in making love. If somehow you can slow down enough to see deeper and to feel, is the touch, am I touching? And we have a spa, and they come, and we have one of the best reputations here. And you know how I'm going to give a secret away, because I know it's going to take a little bit more than me just saying it. But what I teach my massage therapists is to touch not just the body, but to go and wait until, and I go and do it on their skin. I say, look, I can massage your bones and muscles, or I can, and then I look at them, and I go in with my thumb, and I just dive in slowly. I look at them, and I say, or I can touch your soul while massaging. And it takes a slower speed. Right. And if we could just all take that home. If you just sit holding hands, you don't even have to get naked. You just hold hands, and you look in each other's eyes, and you both make an effort and say, let's just explore. Let's just try. How, when I touch you, when I look in your eyes, when do you feel? Or I'm going to do that, and I'll touch your soul. And I look at you until I feel that. And you tell me when you feel it. Just give each other feedback. See, I do this with people with eyes closed on the telephone 5,000 miles apart. I train
Doesn't
people
matter. It
how to
doesn't matter.
touch soul. It doesn't matter. That you don't need to touch a person to have that contact.
Wow. I think we all need to do that.
Yeah.
I think that again, it goes back to the essence, the pure essence
That's
of each other. Ilona.
that's when we will feel like we have met and are being met. We're being seen. Do you know that the number one thing that I would say people thrive on is when they feel that another person has opened their heart and soul to see them for who they are, into their core, beyond their mistakes, beyond their grandeur, into their essence.
Wow.
And we can train that. We contain that.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, my sister, so much.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
love talking with you.
I told you everyone this was going to be a great show. Really appreciate you being here again. I mean, again, this goes to sharing how to dream big, how to live big, get
How
connected.
to get outside of the box.
Box.
Just outside of the soap opera box that we're watching. I mean, I don't have a TV, so I don't. But it's like, get real, connect, stand with a tree, do it with a flower. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can feel the essence of every living thing.
Wow. Well, I have some good news about connecting.
What?
Everyone, Iona's going to be back next month.
Oh my God.
So
Awesome,
she's going to be
awesome.
back
Let's
next
do it.
month.
How about we talk about out-of-body sex?
Yeah. Everyone, listen. You can find out more about what Ilona does and where you can buy her fantastic book, Dream Big. The universe is listening by visiting her site at ilonaselke.com. That's ILONASELKE.com.
Yes.
You can also go to
Yeah.
you can also go to our website as well and find out some more information. We'll have this whole series posted very soon. I also want to remind everybody that you have access to this video and all of our other inspirational videos by going to Soulivity and downloading our mobile app, which is available at Google Play and the App Store. Again, wow.
Yeah.
The union of the souls.
Let's do some take homes, just 3 points. Make it a point to take time for your inner silence. And if you go to my webpage, Ilona Selke, it's ILONASELKE.com, ilonaselke.com, you can download an app to do your daily householding with your soul. Dive into your soul.
Yeah. I do it myself.
I know. 8 minutes in the morning, 8 minutes in the evening. You don't have to do it drawn out. Guided meditations are easier to follow than sitting there in silence going, where my monkey mind,
Right.
And then just dive into your heart and soul. Create the presence within yourself that you wish to find outside in someone else.
Wow.
Become the gift and the jewel. And then next time maybe we'll talk about some exercises, chakra awareness, what chakras are about, and how we can make love with different chakras, or maybe it's a misnomer, but at least commune with friends alike, men and women, and make ourselves aware of being more than just the skin and bones that we seem to look at in the movies. We're so much more. Become an energy-based being.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, everyone, look, until next time, on behalf of myself and Ilona, saying to all of you, thank you for joining us. We both wish you love, passion, happy living, and purpose-filled lives.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.